Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are going to discuss today standard bannings and the resultant financial loss, or really avoidance of financial loss. Now, just so we're all on the same page, what I'm talking about here can theoretically also be applied to things like modern and older formats, but to a lesser degree, because part of this entire conversation is going to be based around the concept of what's currently available for sale. Now, there's some things we need to get straight right out of the gate, and that rhymes so you know it's true. And one of those facts is that Wizards of the Coast only cares about money. That part is not, this part of the discussion isn't really up for debate. There may be people internally inside Wizards of the Coast who care about the game for other reasons. But as a whole, Wizards of the Coast only exists to make money. At one point in the past, they were an individually owned company and they had pride in their craftsmanship. They cared about making a good product, whereas now all they truly care about is making money. And the reason for this, really simply put, is because of Hasbro. Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast. Now, Hasbro is beholden to its stockholders. They basically need to generate income every quarter for their stockholders, or, as we've seen just now with Hasbro, they will have a stock price tank where their price of their stock goes down by 15% or more. Now, this is very undesirable from the view of the people at the very top of these companies, because the people who are in charge of running Hasbro, they also have Hasbro stock. Having your stock be worth a lot of money means that you have a lot of money, and people like to have a lot of money. So the idea is Hasbro's like, okay, we have to keep cranking money. We got to keep our stock prices up. The money has to keep coming through the door. So that is the guiding principle of Hasbro. And as a result, that will also be the guiding principle of Wizards of the Coast. Because at the end of the day, the people who are in the lower levels, and that includes people like Mark Rosewater, they don't have any real say in how the company does things. There was recently a post talking about returning to Kamigawa, and Rosewater said the chances of getting upper management to agree with returning to Kamigawa makes it pretty much impossible. The upper management is like, no, we're not going back to Kamigawa. You will see the sets they return to are the sets that sold well. It doesn't matter how well developed a world is, how cool it would be to revisit that world and explore it, as if the numbers don't say that that set sold well, we're not going back. And if the numbers say the set sold well, but the set selling well has nothing actually to do with the world itself, and it's something like, oh, look, they shoved invocations into it, doesn't matter. We're going back to that set. So the mid-level employees who actually design the game that we play, they have no actual genuine input. Most of Wizards of the Coast decisions are guided by the financial aspect. You need to understand that. All that matters to Wizards of the Coast now is money. They don't care if you're having fun. They care about it as a side note, because when you're having fun, you pay them money. But overall, all that matters is money. That's why Standard exists. Standard exists to create forced obsolescence, planned obsolescence, where they give you these cards. And when I started playing Magic, you could play with the cards forever, right? Like, there was just play with everything. Yes, there was a restricted list, and on a side note, multiple people have asked me, hey, what about going back to restricting cards instead of banning cards in Standard? And I will do a video talking about why, like, talking about the relationship between restricting and banning and why that's actually not a good idea for Standard. But that's a conversation for a different day. What we're here to discuss is the fact that Wizards of the Coast is driven purely by the finances, purely by the money they are bringing in the door, and no other factor. We saw that when they were releasing the master sets, where we were paying triple the price for booster packs with no actual increase in quality whatsoever. In fact, a decrease in quality. We had very bad card quality for these overpriced sets. So there are a whole range of examples of how Wizards of the Coast only cares about the money, and as long as you're paying them, they don't care. Now, how does this tie into bans and standard? How does this all work? Well, the reason that Wizards of the Coast bans things to keep standard healthy isn't to create the most fun environment possible. They're not looking to give you the best user experience possible. They're just looking to give you a user experience that's good enough that you will keep paying to play the game. You will keep buying standard packs. Standard is Wizards' baby. Like, if Wizards just wanted you to play Magic and have fun, then that would be reflected in the choices that they would make. So when you look at things like the WPN, which is the program that's used for organized Magic play, right? The only thing that the WPN rewards you for in terms of the status of your store are playing in standard, playing in drafts, and playing in sealed. In other words, selling the newest sets. When it comes to modern, nobody who plays in modern tournaments counts towards your stats. Just like no one who plays in Pioneer events that are upcoming will count towards a store's stats. And what I mean by that is when you're part of the WPN, every single person who plays in one of your events counts as a ticket. So if you were to run a standard event that had 8 people come out to it, that would be 8 tickets. Now, the number of tickets that your store builds up determines how much of the promotional gear that Wizards of the Coast is going to send out to your store. And to get into like the top 5%, their premium stores, you have to have a large number of tickets, along with some other factors that aren't as important that I'm just going to kind of shove to the side because that's not what this video is about. It's just to demonstrate to you again that Wizards cares about the financial aspect only. They don't care about how many people are playing Modern and having fun. They care when they can sell you like a Modern Horizons pack. But overall, they don't care about you playing Modern and having fun. They don't care about you playing Commander and having fun. They don't care about you playing Pioneer and having fun. None of that is actually their genuine concern, and it's reflected in the way that they do things. Now, when it comes to standard bannings and why cards get banned, it's because they've reached the point where not banning the card in question equals them losing money. That's all it boils down to. If a card or multiple cards have enough of a negative impact on standard, then fewer people will play in standard. And if fewer people are playing in standard, that affects the sales of all of the sets that are in standard. So if standard starts to flag because it's too oppressive, then they go, oh man, okay, we're no longer selling Core 2020 at the same rate. We're no longer selling Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, War of the Spark, Throne of Eldraine. That's a lot of products that all get impacted at the same time. All of a sudden, sales start to flag on everything. This is the reason that standard bans exist. Standard bans exist to avoid financial loss or to minimize financial loss. They don't exist for your fun. Your fun doesn't matter to Wizards of the Coast. You need to understand this. When it comes to the company as a whole, they don't actually care about you enjoying their product. They care about you paying for their product. So if you will complain but still pay, they will not fix the problem. If the problem actually impacts sales, that's when they'll do something. The Hogak situation is a prime example. Stepping outside of standard for a moment, the Hogak modern situation is a prime example of this. Now, Hogak came out and he immediately started to warp the modern format around him in a very strong manner, where the Hogak deck was nigh unbeatable. Why? Because we were avoiding mana costs. And when Wizards of the Coast sidesteps their mana costs and things like that, like, mana costs are the balancing factor of Magic. When they go, oh, this card literally says on it, you can't cast it with mana. It literally sidesteps the balancing mechanic. And a lot of the times when they sidestep their own balancing mechanic, surprise, surprise, you end up with cards that are unbalanced. So Hogak had completely unbalanced Modern, but here's the problem. Hogak is also in the new Modern Horizon set, where everyone is going, oh my god, we need to stop Hogak, we need to stop Hogak. But Wizards of the Coast was still selling Modern Horizons. So banning Hogak would make them lose money and would also force them to admit that they made a horrific mistake. So they didn't touch Hogak, they didn't touch Altar of Dementia, although admittedly, I don't even think touching Altar of Dementia would have been enough to stop Hogak. What did they do? They banned Bridge from Below. Did it solve the problem? Oh, of course not. No, didn't even come close to solving the problem. Hogak just remained as dominant, or theoretically even more dominant. So they waited until X number of months after Modern Horizon sales had pretty much cooled off. They had shipped all their boxes out to distributors. They had made their money. And that's when they finally and reluctantly dropped the ban hammer on Hogak, right? So we come to today's scenario where a lot of people are clamoring for Oko bans. But Oko bans are most likely not going to happen for the reasons that I've just outlined to you. What's going on with Wizards of the Coast? Again, what did I say? The only thing they care about is making money. And bans are issued to stop or decrease financial loss. How does banning Oko serve that purpose? It doesn't. In fact, it does the opposite. Oko is the most expensive card in Standard right now by a long margin. And that makes Oko the big lottery ticket win. When it comes to Magic the Gathering, part of Magic is cracking booster packs. And the booster packs have a lottery feel to them. They appeal to people who have addictive personalities, who like gambling, and they even appeal to people who aren't heavy gambling types. For example, me. I won't go to a casino and gamble a bunch of money, because if I lost $500 at a casino, I would literally want to throw up. I'd just be like, oh God, I'm getting so sick. But I can crack booster packs and go, oh, if I get the big money, awesome. If I get something, whatever, okay. I don't feel like, oh God, oh, I need to lay down. It doesn't have that effect. So they get to tap in to the whole gambling market perspective while also not having that big loss feeling, which is a good spot to exist in, because you get people like me who would never be involved with that. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is Oko is that big lottery, good feeling win. Right now, if you crack an Oko, you're looking at 60 to 70 American dollars for that $4 American booster pack purchase. Obviously, American pricing, since the majority of my audience is American, it's the easiest way to explain it. But you spend $4 and all of a sudden you just got $60, $70. That's an amazing feeling. Now, if Wizards goes ahead and bans Oko, well, what happens to the value of Oko? It drops like a rock. Overnight, Oko goes from being a $60 card to probably about a $10 to $15 card. The fact that he'd still be usable in Modern and other formats would help to soften the blow a degree. I mean, and Brawl as well. Apparently Oko is like dominating Brawl currently. Surprise, surprise. So Wizards of the Coast has a financial incentive not to ban Oko. Oko can have a higher showing than Field of the Dead. Oko can be more oppressive than Fields of the Dead, and they will still strongly hesitate to ban Oko because he represents their financial interests in multiple ways. One, by just being a massively valuable card. A massively valuable card in a set drives sales. If you can buy a booster box for $100 and have 36 chances at cracking a $60 card, you've just recovered 60% of the value of your box with one card. That is a strong inducer in terms of getting people to open their wallets and buy booster boxes. So Wizards of the Coast doesn't want to tamp down on that. That's the financial, that's the major financial part. But there are other financial aspects in that Oko is a planeswalker. Planeswalkers are the face of Magic the Gathering. They're the characters that people identify with, the characters that people love to see. There are people who just collect particular planeswalkers. People identify with the planeswalkers. Planeswalkers are almost like an anchoring point of sets. They're the front facing marketability of the set as well. So banning Oko hits multiple problems. In fact, Oko not only is one of the planeswalkers in the set, but he is the most notable and most desirable of the planeswalkers in the set as well. Sorry, Royal Scions is cool and everything, but they're nothing compared to Oko. And actually the strength of Oko overshadows the other planeswalker in the set too, Garruk. Garruk would probably be a hotter card and more people would be using him if Oko didn't outshine him by a mile. And there's nothing wrong with Garruk. Garruk is fine. He's honestly more at the power level that's reasonable. Oko is pushed at 3 mana, and the ability to crank his loyalty so high on the first turn, Oko is genuinely pushed into a too strong area. I really do feel that way. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I feel. What matters is what's going to put money in Wizard's pocket. And as long as Oko is too much of a financial incentive for people to buy sets, there's no way that they're going to ban him. Even if a deck with him becomes mega dominant, what they're going to do is, instead of just grabbing the one card that's a problem, they're going to knock out the cards around it. It's not the same situation as Field of the Dead. Field of the Dead was like a whatever card that they made to kind of mess around with Scapeshift. They didn't even see Field of the Dead like becoming the Fields of the Dead Golos deck. I can pretty much guarantee that when Wizards did their testing, they had no concept that you could build a deck as ridiculous as Golos Fields, right? Because they can't catch everything. They only have a small team of people, and that small team of people cannot emulate the results of millions of people playing with their cards and finding the most busted paths, right? Because the incentive of Wizards and Coast employees to find the most broken decks isn't the same incentive as people playing the game. The people playing the game have a far bigger incentive to find the most broken decks. So Wizards didn't see the Golos Field deck coming out of nowhere. Banning Fields was an easy choice for them, right? First of all, Fields is already in a set that's not the newest set. And that's another point for Oko not getting banned right now, is the fact that he's in the newest set. And the newest set is always their strongest seller. It's always the hottest. Field of the Dead is in core 2020. Core 2020 already had its moment in the sun. Plus, it's a core set, and more people pass over the core sets because it's perceived to be a more beginner set and doesn't have as many tournament relevant cards in most cases. That's the history of core sets. So we've got a scenario where Oko exists as the biggest, baddest, most expensive piece from the set. He's in the set that is the new hotness and needs to keep being sold because Wizards is still printing. Like right now, Wizards is still keeping this one in print. Throne of Eldraine's in print. So all this stuff comes together to say Oko won't get banned. The cards around Oko will get banned. If Oko remains too dominant, you will see the cards that support Oko and make it work get the ban hammer. You will see cards like Arboreal Grazer and Gilded Goose both just get booted out of standard because, I mean, Arboreal Grazer's already shown up in some obnoxious decks like the Golos Field decks, so it's already been shown to show up in like some powerful level decks. But Gilded Goose will get the boot too because it accelerates into Oko. What they'll be looking to do is to nerf Oko just enough that it stops the loss of people in standard, that it stops affecting standard so much that it affects their sales, I should say. What they're looking to do is continue to maximize the amount of standard sales, maximize the amount of Throne of Eldraine sales, and keep Oko as a big lottery ticket. So that's what you need to bear in mind. At the end of the day, when you're thinking about what Wizards of the Coast will ban, understand that underneath it all, they don't care about your fun. They don't care about your enjoyment of the format. They care about financial gain and loss only. So if something doesn't affect them financially, they are not going to care in the slightest. They're going to ignore it and leave it alone. If it's going to impact their ability to make money, that is when they will take action, and that's the only time they will take action. Now, I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this subject overall, so let me know in the comments below. I want to give a big shout out to all my patrons and channel members. Thank you very much for supporting what I do, and a shout out to all the people who come and hang out on my streams. I genuinely appreciate all the time that we spend together. And for now, I will see you all later, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles.